Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Wednesday, June 4th, and today's subtitle is The Founder of Salvation. We're going to be talking about the fact that salvation comes completely through Jesus Christ. That brings us to Hebrews chapter 2, verse 5, which says, "For it was not to angels that God subjected the world to come, of which we are speaking." So, what does that mean? Cultural Study Bible said, it may be that because some Jewish people criticized Christians' worship of Jesus as the worship of a second God in the second century, some Jewish believers in Jesus argued that he was merely a great angel. If some of Hebrews' audience already found such an approach attractive, however, Hebrews clearly closes off that possibility here. Okay, so in that culture, we talked about this when we introduced Hebrews, there was a lot of putting down the early Christians and saying that they were worshiping a second God and criticizing them and putting them down. Well, when this letter to the Hebrews was to encourage them to stay true to their salvation and to not succumb to all that ridicule that they were receiving from people that were Jewish and not an early Christian. And this verse right here is just to say it was not the angels that the world is subject to. The angels are messengers and servants within that world, but the world is not a subject of them. The world is not underneath the authority of the angels. The world is under the authority of Jesus Christ. Now, the Fire Study Bible had a note for verses 6 and 7, and it says that these quotes are from Psalm 8, 4 through 6, which would have been well known to all of those believers. And as we've seen in previous videos, there are direct quotes coming out of the Old Testament. It's a pure example of Scripture interpreting Scripture. Excuse me. So verse 6 says, "It has been testified somewhere, 'What is man that you are mindful of him, or the Son of Man that you care for him?'" So what this verse is basically saying is, why does God care for the Son of Man? Because it's his son, because he loves his son, and because his son is that creator of the world, that he's part of that full deity. It's reiterating the fact that Christ is God. Cultural Study Bible said this, that Jewish interpreters sometimes used ambiguous phrases to emphasize that the divine authorship matters more than the human authorship. Although Jesus is the Son of Man in the Gospels, the writer of Hebrews simply follows the standard Greek translation referring to human beings. So when it's talking about this Son of Man, I was mistaken. It's not talking about Jesus. It's talking about followers of God as a general rule. Verse 7, "You made him a little lower than the angels. You have crowned him with glory and honor." So the Greek translation of this passage cited here in Psalm 8 interprets the Hebrew a little lower than God, the simplest Hebrew sense, as a little lower than the angels. The writer of Hebrew uses this translation, which his audience knows. So the writer is using this, the way he phrased this, to make it very relatable to the people. And it's making it very clear that, yeah, he was a little bit lower than the angels, but it was so that he could be elevated and crowned with that glory and honor. And then verse 8, "Putting everything in subjection under his feet." Everything is submitting to Christ. It's submitting to his rule. Why? Because he's the creator of the universe, because he's the King of Kings, he's the Lord of Lords. He is God's son, and there's no mistaking that. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.